My story is not like I'm a hero. Oh, she did this and she did that. No, I did what a lot of families, thousands of Cubans have done, looking for freedom. I still get a little emotional because it hurts, still hurts, no matter what, how much time. I always feel like I miss my country, I miss my family, but I'll try not to so you can understand me. But anyway, Cuba was a beautiful country, as you can see. I'm going to pass this around. Just look at how pretty the views are. Just, you know. And we were peaceful people. We were friendly. We lived very simple life, nice. My hometown was very small where I grew up. I was born in a sugar mill town, even smaller. Okay, my father was a pharmacist, and when I was about 7 years old, we moved to a little bigger town, but still was a small city. And my youth was very nice, beautiful. I remember my days when I was little, happy. High school, I was educated in Gran Coto, like Gran Coto, Madams of the Sacred Heart in Havana. And we were peaceful and nice, and life was paradise. We never thought it was going to happen. But our government was, just like the United States, a democratic government, democratic country. Every 4 years we had elections. But in 1953, a military coup happened, and this guy named Batista took over, and he decided he was going to stay. So for years, he abused and he killed, and all what dictators do. We were not happy, we couldn't do anything. But all of a sudden came along our Messiah, we thought, Castro, Fidel. He came, out of a good family. They had money, they were wealthy, and he was a lawyer, and young, very good looking. He came and he started a revolution underground, and people thought he was going to be our salvation, get rid of Batista, the dictator, and he was going to take over and give us freedom again, and we could have elections, and we could have our country back. And even, my father, he went to the mountains. Castro and my father went up there to help him too. A lot of people went thinking that we needed to help him to get rid of Castro. Well, we were very wrong. But he lied to us, he lied to the world, and right after he came down from the mountains, finally Batista left December 31st, 1958, and Castro came down the mountain January 1st, 1959. And we were so happy, and we celebrated, and we thought it was great. And his first speeches were wonderful. In 18 months, we're going to celebrate elections, and we're going to go back to our, life as a democracy, and we're going to reestablish order and peace, and all these jails are going to be empty, and there is not going to be any more fighting or killing or anything. I'm fine, but all of a sudden, and the Cubans, even though I was very young, we started to kind of hear things that it didn't match what he said. It was not really very clear what he was doing and what he had told us. When he came down from the mountains, he came to my hometown, which is near the mountains, and he happened to spend the first 5 or 6 days in my father's farm. My father had a small farm outskirts of the city, and they stay there. Fidel, his brother Raul, Che Guevara, who is a guy from Argentina, and his big people, stay in the house, and he had all these militia people all over the farm in your tents, and they stay there for 5 or 6 days organizing the march from my hometown to Havana, which was like 900 kilometers from where this is more or less the island. Okay, Havana is over here, and I'm talking about here. And this is Guantanamo. This is Guantanamo Bay, what it's called Gitmo. We live about maybe 2.5 hours drive from Gitmo. So they stay here. They came from the mountains, down the mountains, and he stay over here preparing his march all the way to Havana, because people were waiting along the highway to greet him and all that. Okay, he stayed there. As soon as he went over there, my mother was the first one to tell my father, I think we made a mistake, and I think we're going to have to leave the country. My father and my brother, my youngest brother, said, oh, you are out of your mind. This is going to be wonderful. And I said, okay, look, you better get prepared. And my opinion is that we better get some money out. Put some money in the United States, because we're going to have to leave this place. And it's going to be soon. This is in 1959. 1960, we realized that, hey, this is it. Communist, and he declared this is a communist country, and I'm going to, take over. One morning, we got up. He had changed the currency. So the money we had worth nothing, nada. We had nothing in the bank, nothing in your pockets. And then he said, okay, you can exchange that old money that is no good for the new money that the revolution is having. So the only thing how much we could exchange, the only amount we could exchange was 250 pesos for 250 new pesos, which you couldn't do too much with 250 pesos. So if you have 10,000 in the bank, you only had 250, no matter what. And we were no money. Little by little, and he said, all the land and the properties that we're going to confiscate from the wealthy people, only the wealthy, is going to belong to the people, and we're going to pay you back. Okay? So that was wonderful. Yeah, pay you back, right. If the land was worth $1,000, he was going to pay you 10. So obviously, he stole everything from the wealthy first. So, and what happens in places where there's a lot of people that don't have much money, when the wealthy are losing, and that's going to be given to the ones that don't have too much, it's going to be great. So people were kind of happy. The ones down here were happy that this up here were going to get rid of, and they give it to them. Okay. So once he finished with the wealthy people, he went to the middle class, and then he went to the poor class. So everybody didn't have anything. By then, it was too late. He had taken everything from everybody, and everybody was poor, and everybody was, lacking the most important things like food, medicine, clothing, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and you will start getting afraid of your neighbor, even the maids in your house. You were afraid to say something because they could hear, and they could go and tell on you, and if they suspected anything, you just go to jail. And very easily they celebrate, well, a trial, they say, a trial, whatever they call it. And you could go to jail 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, easy. A good friend of mine in school, classmate, she was 20 years in jail just because they caught her with a group talking one night. Somebody heard that they were going to get together and they were talking about, Castro and the government and how could we help to get rid of him. And in jail, they start shooting people for nothing. He killed a lot of the Batista army people that were, just soldiers. They just were there. That was their job. They weren't really bad. A group was, but not everybody. He shot on the wall, trial, like an hour. Everybody, like 20 people together. And then the people gather, and they call it paredón. Paredón means shoot him on the wall. Paredón, paredón. They say, yeah, paredón. It was very scary to see what was going on in my country. By that time, my daughter was 9 years old. My son was 5, going to be 6. And so we started talking about, it's time for me to go. It's time for us to go. So I started getting my papers ready. And at that time, I begged my husband to start his papers ready. But he didn't believe that could stay. It can last a few months, but Castro will be gone 90 miles from the United States. There's no way. But I didn't believe that. I said, it's better to be safe. Let's go and we can wait. For whatever happens, we can wait in the United States and we come back. But I think it's time to get these kids out of here. They were taking children like 10 years old, 11 years old, up to the mountains to teach how to read to the people who live up there in the mountains. And if they come get your daughter, my daughter was 9. I was afraid if they come get her, when I was going to see her again. How was she going to go to some place that she didn't know, that it was among people that were scary? It was very scary time for us. So I said, I'm leaving, I'm going. My mother had come before. My oldest brother went to LSU. He was an electrical engineer. So when he left, he came to Baton Rouge because he had friends that could help him, establish and start. So he could find a job quickly. He was graduated from LSU. He could speak perfect English. So my mother and father came after him. Then my sister came after my father and mother. Then I came after my brother and sister and father and mother. So that's how the family start getting to Baton Rouge. That's how we are here in Baton Rouge. And my husband, by the time we were ready to go, my husband couldn't go, he couldn't leave. They didn't let him go because this paper or that paper wasn't ready, so he couldn't leave. And he asked me to stay. So that was a hard decision. I said, no, I'm going, I'm leaving. Now, whether I knew we were going to see each other again, whether he was going to see the kids again, no, it was very unknown, uncertain. Nobody knows what was going to happen. Nobody knew. But I had to take the chance, and I had to do what I had to do. And I said, I'm leaving. I'm taking my kids out of here. Now, I'll see you when I see you. The God will have our way, and I'm leaving. This is my path right now. And the only thing I'm begging you is do not go on a boat, because it's very dangerous. People, have you heard or seen those rafts where people escape from Cuba? Bigger than this. No, just about that size. A tire, a big tire, people escape. You know how many, the currents between Florida and Cuba, that small strait. The currents are very strong, full of sharks. It's horrible. I don't see how people. They must be desperate, because you have to be desperate to try to leave Cuba on a raft. It's crazy. Your life is zero. You're worth nothing. You have 99.9 chances of drown, or the sharks will get you. So that's the only thing I said. Do not leave until you have, the permission to leave. 1 year, 2 years, whenever that is. The thing is that when I got here, it was a happy time. I saw my family again. I was safe. My kids were safe. And 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. So I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? So, no English, no money, no husband, no job, 2 kids. I'm pregnant. So I had a bright future, honey. I had a bright future. So it was very hard. I cried and I cried, and I said, well, what's going to happen? But my family was very supportive, and they always, encouraged me. We're going to go on, we're going to move forward. Don't worry about it. We'll help you. And of course they did. And I had a neighbor who was a Cuban too. There was a big, not big, kind of a group of friends that had come before, like we did, because so-and-so is there, because so-and-so is there. So they came following friends. And this friend was going to LSU. There was a special loan for Cubans. At that time, they had established special student loan for Cubans. So he was going to school. He was a lawyer, but he had to go back to school. He said, Ileana, why don't you go to school? And I said, well, the problem is that I don't have any proof that I have been in high school. I came 3 outfits, that's all I could leave. 3 outfits, a pair of shoes, 1 purse, and nothing else. My empty pockets, nothing on you, nada, not a penny. So I didn't have anything to show that I had been through high school. But you see, God over there, He knows. He has your path. He has your life all planned, and it's not going to change. In 1948, when I graduated from high school, my parents sent me to LSU. I came to LSU to learn English, because I really didn't have any intention of having a degree. I didn't need to. My parents lived well. He was a pharmacist. We were, not rich people, but we lived well. I didn't have to work. And then I was kind of going with my husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, and I always said, I'm going to marry him no matter what. So I had him in my eye, and I said, I don't need to work. They had money, so I knew that I didn't have to work. They had a cattle business, dairy business, and they have many properties to rent. So they were wealthy. So he was the best catch in town, I'm telling you. So I didn't have any intention to get a degree. But I came to learn English. My parents decided that, no, you're not getting married right now. You're 18 years old. You're not getting married. Go study, do something. So they sent me here, and I spent a semester. When I went back to Cuba for summer vacation, I didn't want to come back. No, I said, no, I don't want to come back. So I never came back. And see what I'm saying? The Lord has your way planned. He has it. When I went to LSU with my friend to check, because it says, you came here in 1948. Maybe your records are there. And I said, this is 1962. We're talking about 48 to 62. Do you think all these years they're going to have anything? from me, yes, let's go. We can check. You don't be so negative. So I went, and sure enough, my record was there. So I was readmitted, and I was eligible for the loan. So I started that fall. The baby was born in January, and so the baby was a few months old, but my parents were taking care of her. And I went back to school in the fall, October. When I went back, girls, that's what I say. When you say, I can't do this, I don't understand, don't whine. I didn't know English. I had forgotten what I learned in 1948. I mean, I remember a few things, but not enough to go to class and attend class and understand. I just sat there, look at the teacher, and I say, what is he talking about? Oh, Lord. How I'm going to do this? From one class to the other, I cried, and I cried, and I cried because I knew that the next class was going to be the same thing. So I sat on the first row. Always I asked permission. I want to sit on the first row because I thought maybe if I sit in the front row, I'll understand better. I had the idea that I was going to understand better. Oh no, it didn't work. So it wasn't easy. It was not easy to understand, to learn English, and to pass. And the thing again, I had borrowed money for the semester. So before that, I didn't owe anything. I didn't have money, but I didn't owe anything. Now, I didn't have anything, but I had a debt. So that was worse. So every time I thought about all that, it upset me. Horrible. I mean, I just couldn't stop crying. But I was so busy with the kids and the baby and trying to do the homework. And the funny thing about how hard it is and how you manage, your brain works, because when I even took notes, I was so brave that I took notes. Notes of what? I didn't know what the teacher was talking about. This is how I took notes. Let me give you an example. If they say the word house, for example, okay? This is how I hear the word house in Spanish. House. Okay, so I wrote house and I underlined, meaning I don't know what in the world that is. So when I came home with my notes to do my homework, my brother, my youngest brother, who lived there and support me and helped me, knew English also. So I say, come here, sweetie, what is house? So he said, this is the way you spell house. Now, look it up in the dictionary, and then you know what it means. So that's how I learned. From this to the dictionary. Okay? Do you know how long that took me to do my homework and study? I mean, sometimes 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still up. But also, when I walk in the class, here I am, poor little thing, I was 31, and all these kids were like you, 18, 19, and here I am with my book. So I came in the class, I came in the back door, I came in the class. Let me see where I'm going to sit. So I look first, and I say, no, this is too young. No. Well, that one over there looks like a little older, maybe a couple of years. So I went over there and tried to sit next to that person. That was kind of a little older. And I started, hello, how are you? Trying to make friends. My name is so-and-so. And I tried to explain to her that my English was bad and make friends. And little by little, I say, if I need help, you could help me? Could you? Oh, yeah, sure. And I say, well, at lunchtime, I usually go to the library, and maybe we can one day sit and you can maybe help me. Oh, yeah, whenever. Look, I'm going to give you my phone number. That's how, I look for help. I said, somebody's going to help me here because there's no way, in this big university, there got to be good souls that are going to help me. The teachers were very nice. I talked to the teachers, and I was failing history, American history, and I knew what I was doing. I really did. But the tests were multiple choice, A, B, C, or sometimes A, B, C, D, too many choices. It was timed, and 50 questions, A, B, C, D, timed. And it took me too long to read and decide whether it's A or B or C. So I started kind of failing. So I said, no, I can't fail. That's another thing, I couldn't fail. I had it all planned that I had to do in 3.5 years. I couldn't fail any subject at all. So I talked to the teacher and I tried to explain to him that I understood what was going on, the book, and I studied hard, but I couldn't do the test because it was too fast for me, timed, multiple choice, my reading was slow. And I remember that teacher was so sweet. He said, you know what? On the day of the quiz or the test, you just come to the class, and when my helper, they had graduate students that help. So when I leave the classroom, you come with me to my office, and we will have the test orally. I'm going to ask you orally. So he helped me because he knew, he asked me, and I answered the questions, and I did pass that course with a B. So that was great, because I was failing. I couldn't do the written part. So I did get help. All my friends that I made at LSU, they were very generous. That's what I'm saying. The American people is generous. We didn't have any clothes, or we didn't have any money to buy clothes. And our neighbors, the dentist, my brother's friend, my brother's dentist, or the other, I remember, especially the dentist, the wife gave us a lot of her daughter's clothes for my daughter. So help us with clothes, items, towels and things that we just couldn't afford to buy. So we were very, very poor. And another thing, there was no welfare. We didn't have a penny from the government. There was no any of these refugee centers to help. In Baton Rouge, there was nothing, nada. So we were on our own. I didn't have any insurance, health insurance for my kids. Of course, when I went to school, there was a student insurance that I had to take, and it was not very expensive because of the kids, you never know. But nobody gave us, here, food stamps, and here is so much money a month, no problem. Right. Not even when I was pregnant having a baby, not even when I had the baby. I remember when I had the baby, I went to the welfare and they gave me $90 for a few months. As soon as I started going to school with the loan, with the Cuban loan, I had to tell them, I'm going to school and I have a Cuban loan. They stopped the $90 for the baby. So I didn't have any help. And we managed, we worked hard, we struggled, it wasn't easy. And finally, when they killed President Kennedy, 1963, the Vice President, Lyndon Johnson, a little bit after that, established what it was called freedom flights. This meant like relatives here in the United States, close relatives, could claim close relatives in Cuba. Fill out a paperwork and claim a father or mother or a sister or a son. So my daughter, being an American citizen, she was born here, claimed her father. And those people are going to have priority. So in spite of the priority, it took him a little bit over a year to get here. But finally, he was allowed to live on those freedom flights. He didn't need to pay for the plane ticket. He didn't have to have a passport. Just have the permission of the American government, okay, and the Cuban government, okay, and you're gone. So he came, and by that time the baby was 4.5 years old. So we were getting ready for him to come. Oh my God, it was such a happy occasion. And we were trying to get her ready for the papa. You know, you're going to have a papa. And she was not very sure what a papa was, but she didn't seem to be very happy. She was happy with grandpa and the uncle, and that's all she knew, and she was happy. So she wasn't very happy about it, but we kept saying, oh, you're going to like him, you're going to love him, and you see the papa, blah, blah, blah. So the day came. Here we go to the airport. They flew him to New Orleans, Baton Rouge. We all friends and some of the closest friends and all the family went to the airport, and it was, you know, a very happy occasion, and we were all happy, and oh, here he is, look, here he is, look, that's your papa over there. She kind of looked at me, she pulled my skirt like, So finally he comes, and oh, this is your daughter, oh, beautiful daughter. So we go home, and friends had brought things to eat, you know, and celebrate, and a cake and all that celebration. And everything was going fine, and there was music going on, and some of the neighbors came. Happy occasion. But my little girl, wasn't very happy. So she said, Mama, quiero hablar contigo. I want to talk to you. I said, sí, ¿qué pasa? What's wrong? She said, Mama, I don't like my daddy. I don't like papa. No me gusta mi papa. And then she said, and I don't love him either. Because we said, you're going to like him and you're going to love him. He says, no me gusta y no lo quiero. So I don't like him and I don't love him either. So it really was a very hard time for her to just, you know, a man jump into your life and here's your papa, now you love him. Okay, well, it doesn't work like that. Finally, we found a job, and I finished my school. And my first job was St. Joseph Academy. I came here, 1966. And I didn't teach Espanol, I taught French. Yeah, Sister Daniel, remember Sister Daniel? Sister Daniel taught Espanol, and I taught Espanol with Sister Daniel. I mean, she was the Spanish, so I taught French for 3 years. After 3 years, I moved to public schools because they had better salary. The salary was a little more, and also benefits. And I really hated to leave, but I had to think of my kids that, you know, we needed a little bit more money to help get them established also, and going to school and all that. So we finally moved to next door, my mother, the little house. My friend moved, so we bought that little house. It was a little tiny house, but we moved next door. But it took my daughter, I would say, close to a year to really move from my mother's house to our house. She went there visiting the weekends. But during the week, she stayed with my mother. It wasn't easy for her to accept the daddy, you know. And that's the mother of Timothy, the mother of Timothy and Sean, yeah, my 2 boys. And that's how we went through that trauma, of course, of having a child, you know, away from the daddy, and couldn't help it. But after that, our life started to be organized, and of course my sister moved to Miami because a lot of Cubans go to Miami. It's easier in Miami. The food, the language, the music, the culture. It's like living in another country. It's not like the United States. If you can, nobody has been to Miami here. If you go to Miami, you are in a foreign country. Seriously. Yesterday, my husband had to go to a doctor, the first time, and he's a very tall, blonde guy, and he said, "Where are you from?" And when we said Cuba, he started talking Spanish, perfect Spanish. And he says, "I was born in Miami." So I was in Miami until I was 18 years old, and then I went to Boston for my medical studies. But he lived, and his mother lives in Miami. She's an American too, but he learned Spanish because he went to school and he had friends that are, and he says many friends he made in Miami are Cubans. So he speaks the language, he loves the food, he loves the music. So it was so nice. It's like having a Cuban doctor here in Baton Rouge. And right now, with this business of having relations with Cuba and going back to normalization, I don't know. I don't believe it's going to happen. This is my personal opinion. Castro already said, we're not going to change. This is our government. The way it is, it's going to stay like that. No human rights, no freedom of speech, no elections, no free elections. And this is it now. You can offer me whatever, we'll talk all you want, but my policy is the same as it has been. They have a dynasty settled. They're not going to let anybody get in it. It's only the Castro's dynasty, and that's the way it's going to stay. The old Castro, the old man, he's going to be 89, and he's sick. He has been sick for quite a while, but he's still alive. The guy doesn't die. What are you going to do? I said, Lord, when is, it's time for him, Not that I'm going back. No, my husband and I, no. We are here. We decided we're not going anywhere. But I feel for the Cuban people because they are suffering. They have, they're really going hungry. They cannot think of anything else at night when they go to bed. The only thing they can think of, what am I going to do tomorrow to feed my family? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How can I get some money? If you have relatives in the United States and you live in Cuba and these relatives send you American dollars, those people are a little better off. We still have some relatives, cousins, and first cousins we haven't seen again. And I have 2 maids still alive, and 1 girl that used to work with my father at the pharmacy. And we send these people some American dollars 3 or 4 times a year to help them get a little something, better food or medicine.
Does the money get through?
Yes, it goes through, but when they get suppose I send $100. When I try to get somebody in Miami that goes to my hometown, friends. So that friend brings the $100 to the maid. And when she has the $100, she has to go and exchange that $100 for the Cuban money. And that's when she only gets back 80. They keep 20, and it's not $20. It's 20 Cuban money, which is good for nothing, just in Cuba. So with that money, they can go, the money they give them for the American dollars, which is the money different from the money they make when they work. There are 3 kinds of money in Cuba. The money they get when they work, the money that the government gives you when you have American dollars, and the American dollars that you get from your friends or family. So the American dollars have to be exchanged for the Cuban dollar, peso, whatever they call it. And then with that Cuban money, there are special stores that they can go and buy things that in the normal stores for the workers don't have, like aspirin, cotton, alcohol, toothpaste, shampoo, soap, and a lot of times these people, when you send them money, they don't want to buy any of that. They want to buy food because food is more important than shampoo. Shampoo is nice, but it's not necessary. So sometimes they don't get it. They save it for the medicine and for the food. But not everybody has friends or family in this country that sends them anything. See, these people don't have any relatives. They just have us. Those two girls work for us. One of them used to take care of my kids. The other one would just do the cooking. So they don't have anybody. They're poor people. And the girl that works in the pharmacy, the same thing. She has nobody in this country. So if we don't send them a little bit help, they don't have anybody. They don't. So when I get the letters back from them, thanking me, oh, you're so wonderful. I cried. I say, what wonderful. I'm just sending them a little something, and it's so much for them. It means so much for them because I can send food, I can send clothes, I can't send shoes because they charge you so much for the weight. So there's no way, I'd rather send the money. The money is more important. They can have the same pair of shoes until, the shoe is not good enough. But they need the money, they need the food every day. They need to eat every day. People are in lack of medicine, food, and all that. So what Cuba is going through is hard, it's awful, it's sad. And as I say, I don't believe it's going to change. Even if Castro dies, the old man, even if the brother who is in charge, who is 84 already, dies, they already have set up, the dynasty, who's next of the Castros. And there's nothing that can change. Right now, they have the baseball games in Central America. And right now, I think it's three of the players escaped. Very difficult to escape from the guards because suppose they talk about, they have seen, I think each player has about 5 guards checking on them day and night. So they won't escape. They won't hide and go to the embassy and end up here. But people escape any way they want, any way they can, because the life in Cuba is absolutely horrible. So you need to pray for those people that are suffering. There's so many people in the world. You saw that guy that was burned in a cage. So horrible. There's people so mean, so hateful. I don't understand. I couldn't hate anybody. I couldn't hurt anybody. And to me, my heart, I wasn't raised like that. And my heart hurts for those people because they can't do anything in Cuba. They can't. They're just trapped and they are abused every day. They beat the women just like men. If they talk, if they protest, if they go to the street and just quietly they say, we want freedom, we want food. They beat you up, put you in jail a week or so. The family doesn't know where you are. So those people are suffering, and all we can do is, our help is prayers. And I hope one day those people can be better off. It will take many, many, many years to repair. Cuba is destroyed. Those buildings, beautiful. Havana was gorgeous, beautiful. Everything is gone, dirty, ugly, falling apart. He doesn't care. He lives very well. He has everything he needs. They live. The family lives. The Castros, they own the island, and they abused 12 million. When I left, there were 6 million people. Right now, there are 12. And I don't see any change possible. I hope I'm wrong for them. We're not going back. We're staying here. This is my country. We're all American citizens. I love this country. I'm grateful that I could come here and the American people opened their arms and greeted us.
How many grandchildren have stayed at your house that you've helped educate?
Okay, grandchildren and 3 friends from Spain. Number 15. Timothy is number 15. Teenagers. Teenagers. Dealing with teenagers, I have had 15 through my life. So I think that's why the Lord doesn't want me to go over there. He needs me here. He needs me here.
Thank you, Senor.
Oh.